Hey, everybody. Welcome into episode number 12 of our podcast. Good old 12 pack. We like to see that. And this week we have Kirk back. Nice to see you.
It's good to be back. John, I forgot to tell you, after every 11th time I hang out with Chris, I vomit. So I mistimed it. Usually I can wait till afterwards to be polite. I just mistimed before the show and so sorry for missing the show, but it was, food wanted to get out of me fast. I was like, hey, those are nachos and that's chili. Those are gone. Um, but I think it was for making the bulimic babies joke, to be honest with you. It might have been joke karma coming back to get me.
Well, I think we should, spotlight your name this week. We've got Kirky Durky Lurky.
Turkey Durkey Lurk. Yes, I was dubbed that. When I first moved to Colorado, I moved into the basement of my buddy Mike and Angie, and they had a 3 and a 6-year-old, Brody and Maddie. And to be honest, I don't know who started it, but started calling somebody names. Could have been any of us, really. But so Maddie became Maddie, Addy, Laddie, Bratty, Fatty. And then Brody became Brody, Lody, Toady, Fody, Lody. And then I became Kirky, Durky, Lurky. So that's what we still pretty much call each other. So
Oh, well,
that's a cute kid story. So yeah, it's like I said, I can't remember the maturity. It could have been me. It could have been the kids. My money's on Maddie, but I couldn't say for sure who started it.
that's fun. Little nice little story to get things going. John, how you doing this week?
Tired as always. It's
As
been
always,
it's been a busy couple of weeks.
we're gonna have to force feed some coffee into your veins or something. Get you a little pep in your step.
Mainstream. So yeah, look, take this line of cocaine, John, and settle down. You're bouncing off the walls. Okay, you might come on.
Well, now that we've got the whole crew back together, we did have to pivot last week and do a show between me and
Became a
John.
duo instead of a trio, and that's not as
Yes,
much fun. So thank you guys for covering.
yes, we
And
missed Kirk's
yes,
corner.
well, I tried to listen, but that's when I knew I was done being sick when I could listen to you guys without vomiting again. So I was like, okay, towards the tail end of it. I'm not saying you guys induced it by any. It was, you know what I mean? I'm not, but I'm just all right.
Well, I do know that you missed out last week. We missed out on Kirk's corner, but you missed out because you actually had something to bring to the table that you wanted to talk about. So I decided that we should let you rehash that this week, even though it's not going to be as topical. But
Right,
uh,
it was more topical last week, and I was all excited too. Like I just got like a vaccine shot, and I just set up a open mic date, so I was all fired up about the show, and this topic. So essentially, it was and help me with the name is not the Keystone. It's not the Keystone Pipeline. It's the pipeline in the east that got hacked and shut down. What was the name?
Colonial.
Colonial. Okay. So the Colonial Pipeline, it got hacked and it got shut down, and then people were, hoarding gas and acting irrationally and stuff like that. So, and I've heard so many military people say that the cyber warfare is the war of the future. So, and it just seems to be that we've got enough tanks, and if we're automizing jobs, it seems like the automation of soldiers into more, it seems like less tanks, more computer people, because it seems like the shutting down of a grid of some sort, a power system, a water system, a financial system, is going to create much more havoc than somebody, lobbing us with bombs from 1920. You know what I mean? It's like we used to have cannons and we used to march in lines. We don't do that no more. We updated. It seems like if at least half the budget's got to start going to computer nerds to combat this, because that's where it seems it's going. I mean, like these people couldn't get gas for a couple of days and they went a little nutty. Like you turn off their Wi-Fi for 3 days, like they are going to start eating people. I have no. I mean, it seems. Am I crazy?
No.
Anybody? Yay, knees?
So that was actually one of the topics you just reminded me because I had completely forgotten about it. Yeah, the future of war, I don't think is going to be as historically relevant as it once was. I mean, even past conflicts have been wildly different than the ones before it, and I think cyber terrorism is going to be not terrorism, but cyber warfare is going to be the de facto future. Because even if you look at the current conflicts that are going on, public pressure to get them to stop usually gets them to stop. There's very little motivation for a nation to continue doing what it's doing, knowing it might suffer, massive retaliations if it does.
Well, and the thing is, the budget of our military, I mean, I don't know what the thing is, but it's like the next 20 countries put together don't equal us. So to me, it's like we're like this rich old lady clutching her pearls and scared of everybody, and we have this inflated military that is outdated, and they're going to sneak in through the computer wires. Like, it just seems like just take half that money and start using it towards that, because like honestly, like what are you more afraid of? Someone sneaking, like dropping bombs on us and hitting us with missiles, or somebody figures out how to hack into like Bank of America and then 40 million people don't have money and they're kind of mad about that?
Yeah, and that's the issue. Well, that's my opinion, is that warfare, I don't think we're going to see another world war like we have. I mean, even the difference between World War I and World War II were massive, and that was just, an incremental increase in technology.
Yeah, it was like 20, 25 years. Not a big gap.
Well, not a big gap back then. Like 25 years ago would have put us into, the 1990s, and even then the massive explosion of technology is huge. And just the social aspect of war now is going to be detrimental. Especially,
you're saying war, what is it good for? You're saying absolutely nothing. Say it again.
Well, I mean, at this point in time, yes. I mean, you have Russia that's done its little annexing and stuff like that, and it's been somewhat successful, but they're still waging conflict there, even though they claim they're not. There's just a lot of... It will be hard for a country to full out declare war on another one.
So it seems like they just corrode the system from the inside. They just create anarchy in the system, because like literally, like people would go bananas if all of a sudden their water system was shut down, or they, like I said, they couldn't draw out money. I really think they would go bonkers.
Yeah,
and I think that's the only thing. Like, we would turn on each other. We're already angry. We're already pissed. It's going to be summertime. It's going to be hot. And what? I can't do this. Kablam, kablam, kablam. I mean, people are already shooting each other, and it's nice outside. So you crank up the temperature. I think it's going to get worse.
I don't think that has a big as part as to play into it, because countries have been destabilized before over, well, I should say there hasn't been a significant event that would be comparable to the U.S. Because yes, the gas pipeline is a major event, but in the grand scheme of things, it was only down for a short time, and it really had no effect on us.
Well, I was also reading a story today it was either the University of Michigan or the University of Minnesota, one of them. They actually developed now a new computer processor. I think they called it Morpheus. And it's specifically designed for cyber attacks because it's essentially a puzzle that changes like 100 times a second or something like that.
It's like unhackable or something because it keeps moving.
Basically, they said the way it was described is a hacker would need a couple hours to figure out the processor, and this thing changes every couple seconds. So literally, unless you're that quick, you'd never be able to hack into it.
All right, so it's putting up a defense at least. That's good. It's a start at least because it just seems like they got to mount something because it seems like I don't know cyber attack. Something's getting attacked, probably cyberly. So that at least is a solution that makes sense to me.
So there's already tons of people on that. Just looking at, the way we do our business now is mostly online. So they're working on trying to figure out how to keep people from, stealing all of that stuff.
Now, what if that? Have they tried Red Rover? Don't send your hacker on over. Have they? I mean, have we thought outside the box?
Yeah, that doesn't usually work because most countries aren't claiming that they're responsible for these.
I like how they always make the predictions. It was probably Russia, but nobody in Russia is claiming it. Well, yeah, nobody makes a what criminal goes, yep, that was totally me back there. Like, well, they're idiots.
Well, and the ransomware,
you're on the honor system, you're a criminal, come on.
Well, it's just that it's because of the ransomware and because of how prevalent it is. It could be from anywhere. It could be someone in the US pretending they're in Russia.
It could be you, John. I don't know what you do all day. You're always tired, so I think you know what? I think it's you. Can we, Chris, right? Back me up here, Chris. Come on. Get him.
Definitely not me.
Well, and the dark web is full of these people who write these, malwares and cyber attack weaponry, and it's hard to track those people. And even when they do claim responsibility, it's usually a big group. It's not just one guy.
I went on the Black Web. I was amazed on the lack of Black Widows. I was very disappointed. I'd assumed they'd be everywhere, but that's what happens when you assume.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they even have I think a military branch that patrols the dark web looking for these cyber criminals to either thwart them or arrest them or figure out how to stop them so that they can't take down pipelines and big companies.
And yes, that's all well and good, but like we were talking about last week, the biggest downfall is the fact that there's always the backdoors, the antiquated equipment. That's how they get in and do the damage.
Can we have one conversation where you don't bring up backdoor? Just one. Just saying.
Well, that would be the only solution, right? Would be for someone to create an advanced processor or computer that can't be hacked, and then you would have to somehow subsidize all of the people in the country getting said processor so that everyone would be protected, not just the rich people who can afford it.
See, but
who's going to steal from poor people? That's I mean, right? And I think they're really, the hackers aren't going to waste their time with, Chuck from Milwaukee, who's got a landscaping company. They're probably, all right, let's go for that. I'd hope, unless they're just practicing.
Well, and this shows how computer illiterate Chris is, because you can have the most unhackable computer processor on the planet, but if you have a piece of software that lets them in, it doesn't mean anything.
It's like one email click. I worked for a couple corporations. They were like big on if it's suspicious, blah blah blah. If you click on it's a Google Calendar with your new assignment. Click, and then bam, the whole system is just corroded from the inside. Right?
Well, and that's how most of the ransomware is spread. It's not, like we were kind of talking about last week. It's not people, with computer screens and rapid typing and all that other stuff. They're sending out hundreds of thousands of emails, especially to these corporations that all have emails that are unique. And they send these emails out hoping that someone is just, that one gets by the filter or...
Right. I think that phishing is a great term for that, because they're just throwing it out there and seeing if anybody bites. You know what I mean? It doesn't really cost them that much. I mean, it's the time of typing in an email, maybe that's the most. But you know what I mean? It's not labor inducive, and if they get one, then they can screw a whole company and ransom them. So it seems like I don't know. Like I said, it's like hitting the lottery or something. It only takes one.
Well, yeah.
My point was that this processor I'm talking about, and I was just reading about this. I don't know how legit it is, so don't quote me, but they said that it's not the same computer. It's essentially one computer, and then the next second it's a different computer. And so far, no one has been able to hack into it, and that's using the top hackers in the country.
Well,
Chris, are you sure you're not thinking of a transformer? Because I think it's a and then it's a car, so it's a computer, and then it's another computer. So are you sure it's not Transformers?
well, I can see what you're saying, and that may work, but it's not infallible. It will eventually be compromised, and that's just how it always goes. Like,
And I agree that technology, it has to change constantly. 5 minutes in, it's already figured out how to hack it.
well,
Somebody
I mean,
has. So
if you think about it, how many companies in this country are running computer or software that's 15 years old? I would be
Four.
I would bet it's at least half. Somewhere in their system, there's a computer running that's older than 15 years. I mean, if you look at some of the stories, there's companies that are running machines that have Windows 95 on them. Or some of them even have DOS because they get it running, they get it doing what it needs to do, and then they don't touch it because it's doing what it needs to do. And that's the thing with
Yeah,
computers.
and I think
is,
another thing, at corporations, I think the bigger you get as a organism, you move slower. Like change takes longer, and I think there's possibly an ego thing of like, well, we're a giant company. I'm sure we have a computer system or a computer department that's killing it, so we're not going to worry about it. When, like you said, they need to be updating it more, and they just get a little. I think they just get a little slothful or lazy in their success.
Well, that and it costs money. Because if you have a computer that's running Windows XP and it's been doing its job for years and the software on it has been doing its job for years, and in order to upgrade to a modern computer and a modern system, you would have to, replace the computer, replace the software, replace all the integrations. You're talking a lot of money to replace something that's still working.
And also, let's not forget, get like a half a monkey like Chris to retrain him to hit 4 new buttons. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like
one step above a gorilla, Kirk.
Apollo. Okay, so he didn't intern. He was actually worked there. But yeah, but just retraining people to use different stuff. I think some people can get really, I don't know, almost like harness their ADD and channel it into a boring office job. But then if you change their system at all, they don't like it. They are not a fan of, you know what I mean? So that mindset of being able to do that, it takes them a long time to catch the new stuff. So yeah, just the time it takes to retrain labor.
Well,
it's got to be a lot.
A part of it is too just the personality, because I can adapt to new stuff very quickly, whereas and I don't know if that's just a part of when I was brought up, because I was constantly exposed to computers. But on the flip side, you look at Chris, and I'm guessing he is much, much slower to adapt to new technology and new things.
Oh, I hate change. I don't want to change anything. So you're correct.
That includes his underpants. I think that might be part of the smell. Come on, that was the first smell joke. It's been too long, and I missed. There's probably more coming because I missed a week, so I've got them stored up.
But yeah, it's a lot of people don't adapt to the changes that well, or they get so used to doing something it is hard to do a new thing or something different or use a different piece of software. Like, I work in healthcare, so when we went from one healthcare technology to the next, it took a lot of people a lot of time before they were able to adapt and change. and a lot of the people that were used to the old system just didn't adapt.
Well, and here's my theory. It's not dumb because I had a recent job and I didn't really get trained, so I didn't understand the system. So I just figured out how to navigate it. So like, I think there's got to be other people like me where you just figure out how to, all right, I click this box and then I hit enter here and I enter like when people like, what do you do? I check boxes and I do stuff, but I know how to get through it. I can transfer this information from this monitor to this monitor and put this in this box. If you ask me what I'm doing, I don't know. But I can do it. I think that at least I hope I wasn't the only one.
Well, yeah, and I guess
so if you do something different and you ask me, I'm like, I've been doing it correctly, but you shifted that one thing and now I'm like, I don't know. You changed the order of the way I figured it out is now thrown out the window.
Well, and that even happens to people who do stuff on a regular, like being that I don't know, I doubt either of you are familiar with Epic, but it is a healthcare software for.
You know what? I heard it's not so good. The name is a lie. I'm just being.
But it is constantly upgraded. Like twice a year, they go in and change stuff, and it is very off-putting when they move a button or change just a little thing, and your typical
the thing
routine
that's supposed to be there isn't there. Where's the red thing I click? Yeah.
Well, and
right.
To give an anecdote, just because I was thinking about it, when we went to electronic record keeping in the hospital, like we were supposed to go to it in like 2007, and then we didn't. And the reason we didn't is because the doctors refused. They refused to do it. They still wanted to write their orders. I don't think they went electronic for another like 6 years. Everyone else did. They refused.
To be honest, I think it's just probably the end of the last of the doctors that grew up without technology, like the 60-year-olds who are like, no, this is crap. But it's slowly, as they got younger and they grew up with technology, I'm sure they shifted. Because like my dad's in the medical field, and like he said, like young doctors are almost they're looking at their tablets more than their patient, and but they're like looking stuff up on it. It's like information, but still there's this like lack of human something that the young generation has, because they can just deal with their phone and not actually, there's a person there, but it's like a computer game to solve. It's not an actual person.
And I would disagree with that. I think the younger doctors now are much more personable and much more, to an extent. There's obviously outliers either way. But
there's in general, it's not everybody. Blanket statements.
But like most of the newer radiologists that I work with are very friendly to us. They don't treat us, like the older ones used to, where do something wrong and they'd be, jumping down you saying, why don't you understand how this works? The newer ones are like, yeah, no, it's okay.
You think it's an age? Does it like just being closer in age possibly as a thing? Like they just have a link that way of like, well, older person, I'm authority, I yell at younger people, that's what I do. But if someone's like 5 years, I'm like, okay, you're in the same, we might have been to high school together kind of thing.
Well,
you think?
No, it's definitely the old school doctor mentality versus new school. And I don't know how we ended up on this, but like old school doctors were, they are the number one person. Everyone reports to them. They dictate what stuff's done. They're de facto number one. The new ones are trained more of, hey, you're part of a team. Yes, you're more important, than
So they want your feedback more. They engage you rather than the doctor's like, I know what I'm doing, kind of out of the way guy.
Yes.
So you're more engaged. It's more of a team thing. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't.
My last point on this, I don't know. That one went a little far, but I was gonna say, looking around as I've been cruising around town, seems to be that in the past, like 2 years ago, every other corner had a urgent care popping up. They were just everywhere. Well, now it seems like every other day I look and see a new coding school going up. And that seems wildly relevant to what we're talking about is, they're pushing this coding and
Coding like coding computers?
No,
Computer
medical coding.
Oh, medical coding.
computer programming.
Oh, well, yes. And because that's... See, I thought you were talking about medical coding, and I was like...
No,
Well-
it's coding, computer programming schools. Like, I can't remember the name of them, but they popped up in like every little shopping center now where you can, go to coding class or programming class and figure out how to do this stuff. That seems
I
like
wonder if that's kind of like I've talked to bartending school, and most bartenders will tell you bartending school is crap. Just go bar back at a bar. I wonder if that's sort of something similar where I'm sure I don't know, it's numbers and blah, blah, blah. It's data entry, I'm guessing, or
no, it's the thing with programming is, well, it's difficult.
Look, can we have a new topic? I don't want to hear about programming. I'm bored already. Can we switch?
well,
But-
Kirk,
I'll be honest here. Nobody can. Ugh. Am I right? Is anybody offended about that?
Well, John, I do want to hear what you had to say. What was that?
Well, what I was saying is programming is difficult until you understand. Well, obviously, like anything, until you start getting a hang of it. I don't know if you remember, Chris, but back in high school, I put Windows 95, not full Windows 95, but I had put a Windows 95 app on my calculator. It did absolutely nothing, and it took forever, but I did it. And I actually am for more programming, even if the chance of success is not, it's obviously not going to be high, especially if they're popping up and they're in, shopping centers and strip malls. I would assume it's very equivalent to like karate dojos that popped up everywhere.
That's kind of what it reminded me of, but it was just it seemed relevant to what we were talking about. So I thought,
it makes perfect sense because jobs are definitely going more towards programming and into the STEM fields. Like, trade jobs are always going to be relevant to an extent, but computer jobs are going to be much more relevant and much more... But I know, shoot through me off.
I was gonna say a little live podcast drama for you. Dog barking in the background.
That's better than the geese a few weeks ago.
Well, that's true.
But and just it's not so much just, oh, hey, I'm gonna go and do a coding class and get into, I'm gonna get into a big computer software or gaming company. That it's also could be for personal, because if you go and learn how to code, then you can make your own stuff and start your own company, or make your own software or games.
Am I equating it to like a typing class? Is that offensive? Is that in the ballpark?
I would assume
like
that's
you're
pretty
learning
close. You're just learning a different skill set. Like I'm assuming most people would argue for people to go to a college or whatever to learn basic computer programming. But at the end of the day, it's still just a skill. In any skill, I mean, people have been teaching themselves coding.
Technically, you could learn. I'm sure there's a book in the library. I'm sure.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
You could look YouTube videos. So you could be. It's almost like guitar or music or whatever. Like you can you can pick it up on your own. You can go to. There's several ways to learn this skill. No right or wrong.
Well, I'm assuming most companies would prefer you went to a college and got a degree
Accredited.
in computer science and all of that stuff. But I mean, if you look at, I mean, arguably one of the more famous people, or not famous, one of the richest game developers out there, would be the guy that made Minecraft. He did that all by himself, just messing around. He did it in an engine that was not typically designed for, playing games, and yet 10 years later, and people are still playing Minecraft. In fact, I've been playing Minecraft with my girls all weekend.
Well, I hate to cut us off there, but I do think we need to transition. And Kirk, we're going to your corner. And I think since you missed it last week, you're going to have to bring it this week.
All right, it will be brought. Is there anything?
It's
and I've been off for
week's.
2 weeks. Is that a cheese wheel next to the wine?
Yes.
Okay. Some cheese with that wine. Yes, I would. The goose is closer. The goose is in a different spot. Okay.
He's
Why?
coming
Well,
for you, Kirk.
what's that?
The goose is coming for you.
They always, you know what? They have the babies and they're hissing. Actually, there was I've never seen this. There was 2 geese, and I swear to God, there were 20 little goslings running around. And I'm like, it seems like they must have fostered some. I picture their buddy, their geese parents that they went to Lamaze class with got run over. And so they just sort of took, it seems like 20 seems like too many eggs for one couple, right?
I don't really know the intricacies of,
Yeah, I couldn't help you out there either.
You guys are the worst people about geese information. Okay. You know what? I'm going to go vomit again. No. Okay, so Kirk's Corner. I had it for last week, and it was just sort of brain bits. There's just random thoughts, sort of, jokes. Hopefully you will connect with a couple so then I can feel not insane, because these are thoughts I've actually had. All right, here we go. The first one. You know what? The Supreme Court is a normal court with sour cream and guacamole. That is the only difference. They think they're so fancy. Their robes. It's just 95 cents more. You know what I mean? And all right. Did you guys know Jesus was not allowed to compete in triathlons because he runs 2 of them? And that disqualified him. They said no. Can you imagine the coordinator having to explain to Jesus, no, you can't compete. That's a hard, you do it. Oh, I don't want to tell Jesus. All right, moving on. Did you guys found something out? There's only one word for thesaurus. A little odd.
Oh.
They couldn't think of any more? Word book. There you go. Boom, right there. The R. Kelly remake of The Wiz is completely different than the original. It is. Do not bring the kids. I would avoid the splash zone. Okay. Are you guys too young for that one? Do you know that the Wiz from Michael Jackson?
No, I gotcha. That was yeah.
All right, is this thing on? All right. How about this? Here's something I noticed. It's convincing a person to go to rehab is tough. But convincing a Chevy guy to enter the Betty Ford clinic is impossible. That was the big dividing line. That was the next Civil War in between. And you guys are both parents, and Johnny, you got him a little older. As a parent, it's got to be hard not to occasionally put an exploding dye pack into your kid's lunchbox. Right?
No.
How fun would that be? Because it would be they'd be freaked out. When's the next one coming? It's a mental game. Fill it with barbecue sauce, make it lunchy. All right. So
yeah,
parents are for not exploding stuff around their children. Is that what I'm learning?
correct.
Yes.
All right. All right. All right, how about this? We got two more here. My scratch and sniff bumper sticker smells like car exhaust. I wish I would have got cinnamon. It's not good. And then the last one we got here, hey, mothers are the only true bodybuilders. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Those are just
So
that's one for the ladies there. You can lift weights, but you're making yourself bigger, but you ain't building the body.
to,
All right. Well, there's
sorry,
Kirk's corner.
I wasn't sure if you were done yet.
Any questions? Yeah, John sounded like he had a question. He was confused.
No, more of a statement. So practical jokes on kids, absolutely fun all the time. Instead of die pack, I found that crawfish work extremely well as well.
You just a random crawfish in the thing, and then
we
dead one sends a message.
Well, we had crawfish not too long ago, and when me and my wife were preparing them, I took one and I had just gingerly tossed it into my daughter's lap. She was not a fan of that. Because it's
the bug-looking thing. Gross. Was she going to eat it, or she didn't even know what it was? It was just like you're throwing a bug at her.
Well, she knew we were cooking something, but I don't think she realized when we said crawfish, it was tiny little lobster.
Well,
yeah, it's almost like a cockroach kind of thing. I mean, it's a bug-like.
On that note, I did get Delilah. I tricked Delilah into holding a worm today, and she did not like that. So, I'm right there with you.
Yes. See, and you're going to have the opposite problem in a few years when Ben gets a little older. He's going to be the one digging through the ground to find the bugs.
Man, as long as he's not on my grass, I don't care.
Well, where do you think he's going to get the bugs and the worms? Under your grass?
Not my grass.
The neighbor's grass? Can my kid dig up your grass? Okay, yeah. What's the next topic? What are we moving to?
Yeah, let's transition over. Yeah, we're going to talk about.
We're not going to do that. Okay.
Yeah, all right. We're going to talk about space because it's not a Fuzed Relativity podcast without some space talk. And I'm going to start out with the Ingenuity. Of course, the Mars helicopter, Whirlybird, that we've talked about many times, is getting ready for its 6th mission. And
it still hasn't crapped out because they were only expecting a couple out of it, right?
They were expecting it to last a while. They were just only hoping. They wanted to get a couple to be sure.
Well, they were only going to give it a month, and then it started performing well, so they extended it.
But yeah, what did it do, Chris? You were saying something.
Well, it's going to do its 6th flight, and they are using it as a scout vehicle now, as I think I said on the previous episode. But it is they're pushing it up. They're actually making it go faster, and they're extending the flight time all the way up to 140 seconds. So almost 2.5 minutes, when the original flight was, I think the original was 90 seconds was the max. So they're really pushing this thing far, and it's holding up very well to everything they've thrown at it.
I heard both of your wives said 2 minutes and 30 seconds is a long flight. So, confirmation.
Wow.
Come on, nothing?
Nothing.
Boom, a vicious kick for both of you for no reason. There was a pause. I couldn't think of anything else to say but something mean.
Fair enough.
Sounds about right. And then I also, John, we had talked about these guys in the past as well, and Virgin Galactic had its first successful orbital flight today.
Which was kind today?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's why I missed it.
I sent you over the
yeah,
video.
I saw it. I just, like I said, been playing Minecraft with my kids. So, but yeah, I knew they were doing it soon, and I knew ULA was doing their thing as well.
Wait, while you're playing more Minecraft for hours, did your pet canary die? That would be a sign to stop playing the game. I think that's how it works. It's you need to go outside and see some sun. You've been playing Minecraft for 12 hours. My bird told me.
And those who don't know, the Virgin Galactic space flight is a little different than what we normally see. This one is actually a small craft that's attached to a plane, essentially. And the plane is what goes up however far. It goes pretty high up. And then the smaller craft launches from the plane and then goes up into space. So you're not having to burn as much fuel because the first plane is taking it up. I mean, you're still using a lot of fuel, but you're not having to have as big of a ship, basically.
In fact, this is the second time Virgin has done that, because they also launched the rocket from the 747 earlier this year.
Okay, well, see, they're getting the hang of it, and this one actually, essentially, it went into space. It went right to the border of space and Earth's orbit. So I'm assuming that Kármán line or whatever you called it.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool. It was a fun video to watch.
Yeah. So the rocket they launched from the 747 earlier this year actually went into orbit with a payload. This isn't necessarily a new. I was trying to find a better video, but I can't.
Dumb guy question: a payload? What are you talking about? It's
satellite.
Not a pickup truck.
So
satellite. Okay.
It's carrying something, and yeah, so they've launched, because they made big news when they launched the rocket from the 747 earlier this year, and then the plane design. I'm trying to find even a good picture of it. Let's see. It's almost like two planes merged together in the middle.
Like when they dock to fuel, kind of thing.
No. I'm assuming this is it. I'm gonna do something here real quick, Kirk. Let's see if. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do.
We got John doing tech stuff in the background of our podcast.
It's a picture of someone's ass. I don't know why you're going to show me that.
There you go. There's a picture of what I'm assuming is the plane they launched from.
Okay, there it is. So we got, looks like it's almost like a biplane, but they're like connected. It's like two separate planes. It's almost like that would be something. It looks like a plane that would land on water, because they both have the kind of the hover thing looking. That's what it looks like to me.
Well, and this is the carry plane. This is the one that takes the smaller craft up. So this takes off, flies up, and then once it hits a certain altitude, the smaller craft disconnects, turns on its rocket, its booster, and then goes to space from there.
Okay, so it's saving fuel, the rocket fuel.
Yeah.
It's getting it up there, so it's okay. It's almost okay.
So this takes it as absolutely high as it can go, and then launches the little plane. And the little plane
ass grass or something else. Nobody rides for free, so this costs gas.
Yes.
I want to say
I'm just putting in lay terms, okay? I'm putting it in bumper sticker reader terminology.
The little plane's the one that had a, Was it the one that had the fatality, Chris? Not this flight.
No, I was going to say, I don't know the answer to that question. I hadn't heard about it.
Because I'm almost positive one of the planes crashed. Not the carrier plane. The
thanks to be nice way to be a downer.
I know. Oh no, he survived.
Can we call him? Thanks a lot, Mr. Wet Blanket, which is going to be your new name.
Yeah, the plane crashed. But and it was called Spaceship 2 back then. But yeah, the plane crashed. The pilot survived. Oh wait.
Oh, that's good.
Maybe there was another one.
Kirk.
All right, the guy didn't die. All right, it's
that specific program has had issues.
Drinking too much.
What's that?
Drinking too much. Issues.
Yeah.
Well, is there switching gears? Is there anything? I don't know if there's anything SpaceX is doing. They've been kind of out of my radar for the last week.
Yeah, it's because they haven't really done much. But I will bring them up when we talk about what we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Well, I like that. Let's jump over it because that was one that I was interested in. I kind of did a little bit of a deep dive on it, which is the Artemis Program, which is NASA's next big foray to take people back to the moon, which we've talked about a little bit. But I did a little bit of diving to see what their actual plan was. And some fun facts about it. It's going to be they will have the first woman and the first person of color, both on the moon at the same time. And I think you had said it maybe back in a past earlier episode, but it's about 3 days to get to Earth or to the moon from Earth.
Yes, with the tradition or with what they're planning to do, yes.
An interesting part of this is they're not actually trying to build a gateway. When you were talking about gateway, I was thinking that they were going to build on the moon. They're not trying to build on the moon. They're building like another ISS to house astronauts.
Yes, just much, much smaller.
And so their ISS is International Space Station, Kirk, just in case.
Okay, so they're adding extension to the space station so more people can live there. They're adding apartments.
No. Well, this is maybe, but this is on the moon, or this is over in the moon's orbit. And it's essentially going to be so the astronauts will fly up. Oh, there you go, on the screen. And so the astronauts will fly up and dock with this gateway. And then from there, they'll take a lunar lander down to the moon and do their science experiments and, whatever they're going to do.
Oh, okay. So that's the hop there, hop in the lunar module or whatever it is, and then descend with that module down there, and then blast your way back up there, hop back in the rocket, come on back.
Yes.
I laughed quite a bit too, because you know how sometimes people in books or shows or, maybe they're doing something for entertainment, but they actually hit it right. I think we're actually going to see Futurama one day, because NASA is trying to figure out how to deal with commercial space deliveries now.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going to go with my point. I don't think Artemis will ever fly. Or if it does, it's going to be wildly different from this space station that we've got up.
Hold on. Artemis is the program. What
Yeah.
are you talking about? The gateway itself?
No, I'm talking about the program.
Oh, so you think the
And
program?
it's not going to work, or it's not going to actually get into space? Like, what do you mean? Not going to fly?
It's what did they have? Originally, it was destined to start 2024, and they've pushed it back.
No, they still have it as 2024.
The problem is that space station or that lunar gateway is too small. Because the most people you're going to be able to ferry to and from that is 3 to 5, if we're going by Apollo standards. Because it's using very similar technology to the Apollo program, just modernized. Whereas on the flip side, you look at SpaceX, and if NASA and SpaceX completely diverged and NASA didn't deal with SpaceX whatsoever, SpaceX could set up, its own ISS in orbit with 2 launches, where this, the lunar gateway is going to take, I think it was 4 or 5 launches with the SLS. And I just think SpaceX is going to just outcompete and outperform NASA and every other space manufacturer right now to the moon.
Well, don't they have a bigger budget? They have a way bigger budget than NASA, right?
No.
Oh.
SpaceX, it's not necessarily the budget. It's
the rocket.
Yeah.
Because once Starship starts flying, Starship has more internal capacity than that entire lunar gateway will have. Meaning that even if the Starship could dock to that, it would be minuscule. Like, that could
it's
not...
like old technology that's no longer compatible. It's like an iPhone plug that no longer fits anything. Like, kind of like it's just outdated.
Sorry about that, Kirk. What was that?
He was asking if it's just outdated, but I think
it's 2 different styles. So the problem with the SLS and rocket similar is you have the multi-stage launch into orbit with a limited payload. So you can only ever fit so much into the top of that stage that's going up. So it's going to always be much, much smaller than what you really want. That's kind of where the shuttle shined, was that it had a decent amount of payload to be able to take components up to the ISS, or go up and fix the Hubble telescope, because it had the compartment space. The SLS and the Atlas and all the other rockets just do not have this size. If the Starship gets going up, and like I said, I think it might have been last week, Chris, that we were talking about this, the ISS right now can only hold like 7 people comfortably. Starship's designed for 20 comfortably.
Well, and it seems like that would be the better way to go. And I mean, if they can, especially with the SN-15 launching and landing by, doing its thing, that's kind of the way that it looks like it's going. But NASA tends to be on the smaller scale, safer side, whereas SpaceX is kind of balls to the wall.
Well, and I agree, but that's why NASA awarded SpaceX the lunar lander contract, because if you look at Starship, if it actually is able to land or if they get the contract and they go to the moon, the lunar gateway is, I mean, in theory, one Starship could take up the entire lunar gateway. And then you just have my understanding of the lunar gateway is it's supposed to be like a refueling stop for extended, or for Mars missions. So you go to the moon, top up on fuel and everything, and then go to Mars. The lunar gateway, I mean, realistically, right now, the only company or only division or group, I guess I should say, that has a chance of getting to Mars within the next 10 years is SpaceX.
Well, and definitely like on NASA's website, I was reading that they, their main goal of this mission is to learn a lot more about habitability on a planet other than our own, and to learn as much as they can from that so that they can use it as a jumping point to go to Mars. But it sounds to me like you're under the impression that what they got going on isn't going to do much for them.
Well, it's just, and that's the problem when it comes into the fact with Starship. Like right now, Starship is still technically a hypothetical spaceship. Yes, it has flown. Yes, it has landed. It's still not gone to space. It's still not, certified to carry people into space. They have to launch it a ton before everyone's comfortable with getting into a starship and taking off.
Well, has anybody thrown out the theory? Has anybody thrown out the theory that, NASA keeps we want to go to planets and find life or signs of life or something? Is it, not to be negative Nelly, but is there just a chance where it's just it's barren? There's just nothing out there that we can get to anytime soon. I mean, the sun is kind of close and all. It just seems like the places they show up are 500 degrees or 300 below zero, where it's just not habitable by much of anything I can see.
Well, and that's the thing. There is water on Mars. There's water or ice on the moon. The problem is we can send probes there, but probes and rovers and helicopters are limited. They can't do the same amount of tests, and more importantly, they can't bring samples back. When we first went to...
Why not? Why can't they put a scooper on it and a bucket app, and you just scoop and you put it in the bucket, and then it withdraws into the robot and then gets back on the spaceship?
And I'm sure Chris knows this. Doable. And I just forgot the name of the rover that we have.
Scoop and bucket.
I want to call it Ingenuity.
Not a fancy name.
No, are you talking about the
actual rover? What's its name?
Oh, Perseverance.
Perseverance has that.
AKA scoop and bucket.
It's going to take core samples, puts it into a container, and then drops the container so that future missions can go pick up the containers and bring them back.
Well, so they're not even, they're setting them aside to be taken back later. They're putting it in storage.
But also, in fairness, John, there is that one that just crashed into the comet, took a scoop, and now is on its way back here.
Yeah, but that is relatively easier to do than to go to a planet and do the same thing. And aside from the moon, it could be done. The reason why it's hard on Mars is because you have gravity. Yes, the moon has gravity, but it's minuscule.
Is the helicopter staying? So the helicopter's staying on Mars. It's not coming back, right? It's
no.
Not making. And what about is the rover staying? The rover's just on Mars, or is it coming back?
There's nothing on Mars that's destined to come back because there's not enough. So you're realistically looking at a rocket within a rocket. So if you wanted to go to Mars, land, and and bring something back, you would need a second rocket almost inside your first rocket.
So this mission is just setting the samples there. So when the next one comes, hopefully they have the technology to get back and bring the samples back.
See, and that's why we were able to get off the moon, because the moon doesn't have a lot of gravity. So you can land on the moon and without too much fuel get back into orbit. And once you're in orbit, it's easy to go from the moon to Earth because Earth's much bigger. So just getting out of the moon's sphere of influence, you're going to get captured by Earth's sphere of influence. And Earth will...
Now, speaking of the moon, do you think Neil Armstrong should have mooned everybody? I mean, he was mooning people on the moon. It seemed too good. We would still be talking about it. Nobody knows Neil Armstrong without that.
Except for the vacuums.
Yeah,
space.
I was going to say,
but
little issues.
Kind of hard to pull that one off.
But That's why.
All right, good point. Good point. See, I'm
That's
glad we talked things out.
and that's why Starship is going to be different, because with Starship and in orbit refueling, it can get to Mars, have enough fuel to take off and leave. Whereas if you tried to take the Apollo lander to Mars, yes, it would work. Yes, you'd probably land. You would never get off of Mars, though, because it just doesn't have enough power to get out of the orbit.
Okay, and you said you said 3 days to get to the moon. How long to get to Mars?
About 6 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they said a round trip could be anywhere from a year to 3 years.
I hear there's a layover in Dallas, which is extra annoying.
I mean, that's not far off, especially if all the launches go from Boca Chica.
See, there you go.
But
See? I knew what I was talking about.
and that's why I think Starship is just going to utterly or make all these other programs irrelevant. Because if it can get to the moon, I mean, Starship could, if they tried, I would bet Starship could get to orbit by itself. Without any payload, I think they said it's theoretically possible. Which means that a fully fueled Starship on the moon could easily get back to Earth. And with the Super Heavy getting it to orbit, refueling it, and then getting it to Mars, to where it can potentially refuel again to land, you're just looking at, the fact that the Starship is going to be the de facto, it could very well be the de facto space vehicle in the future. And it's very likely going to be the backbone of...
John, it sounds like you have a Starship. So on your bedroom wall, there's a poster of Starship, is what I'm picturing. You seem very pro. It's almost like you're like rooting for that's my team. That's the thing that's going to break. That's what my money's on.
Well, if I ever want to get to space, that's going to be about the only option. Because even if you looked at it from a purely financial standing, the Falcon 9 costs, I think, a reused or a brand new Falcon 9 to buy from SpaceX and launch completely without reuse is like $90 million. The potential that the potential that the Starship could very well fall under $10 million and be able to do 10 times more is going to change how space is done.
So there's no concern that the drop in price would be almost like the JetBlue of things going to space, so you should be afraid of it. That's not an issue.
Well, I mean, that very well could be an issue. They're building spaceships in a field in Texas. But it's just if I don't know where I was going with that.
Can I just jump in and say, hey, Chris, Can you shut up? You've been talking a lot. Seriously. Did you fall asleep with the baby or what?
I had.
By the way, still no baby pictures. Is he in like witness protection program or something?
Maybe. No, my one last thing I was gonna say about the Artemis program. I know I trailed off there for a second, but there's gonna be a lot of happy stoner rockers, I think, because one of the key experiments that they're doing that they want to do in this mission is to discover what's on the dark side of the moon.
All the Pink Floyd fans are going to be going nuts for that.
Yes.
Which is going to be just more rocks and probably ice.
I imagine they'll be dark. That's what I'm picturing. I think it would be on the dark side of the moon. I picture dark.
They said that they're formulating special headlights just for the lunar vehicles so that they can see where they're going.
It's good.
So flood lamps.
Either that or it might be made of cheese, and then my theory's back into play.
That'd be awesome. Just go to what's on the dark side of the moon? Cheese.
Cheese. It's all moldy. That's what cheese is. I know. It was amazing.
Well, hey Kirk, just because you said it, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll take my
Oop.
my op topic for the week is John's got a picture just for you.
Oh, see you. Oh, look at that. Is those sharks at the?
Those are sharks.
That's little Ben.
That's little Benjamin.
It looks like he is already doing a karaoke pose. Like he's got the little hand right there. He's like, "Are you guys ready to rock?" And then he's got the rock.
Well,
So
I told him
he's
he was
sleepwalking
debuting.
already.
I told him he was debuting on the podcast this week, so he was getting ready.
Well, he's got just a little peach fuzz on the head there. Not too much hair.
Yeah, not too much.
Still more than my kids.
And other than that, he's doing great, catching back up to where he's supposed to be. Everything's good. So I figured.
All right. Any progress on how is Delilah getting along? Is she enjoying him?
So far everything has been going good. So
Perfect. Then we can stage that Rocky Punch fight later. Perfect. Now that we know they like each other and it's not real, it'll be funny. It's not going to be like, oh, there was blood there. She was mad.
Well, what you got going on this week for your op topic, Kirk?
Oh, mine was a story. If you added hockey to the story, I think this would be the most Canadian story I've ever heard because it happens in Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan. So that's a bustling metropolis, I'm sure. The story is Mounties were called because a guy was building a fence and he had all these fence posts on his property, and they were stolen. And they found the wood posts that he was trying to use for a fence pulled into a waterway by a beaver. So a Canadian beaver, stole wood posts from this guy to build his own dam. So honestly, without hockey, if they add hockey to that, you've got them all covered. But my after that, they also reported the charges were filed on the guy's credit card. So the beaver actually did more than just steal the post. He swiped his credit card, and he was put into rehab. And then when reached for comment, the beaver said, "Damn." So that was he's a beaver. And I just want to state that's the cleanest story you're going to hear that contains wood and beaver.
Yeah,
and there was nothing dirty about it at all. That's so Canadian.
Beavers love wood, Kirk. What can I say?
Apparently they steal for it, you know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
But he didn't try to sell it. He just used, you know what, he stole what he needed. I like his he had the good old-fashioned work ethic.
All right, John, what do you got this week?
The only thing I really saw that was kind of amusing was I don't know if you followed along with it. You might have. The coach that was upset at was it the White Sox or was it the Twins or was it both of them?
You're talking about La Russa, I think.
Yeah,
he was mad because the player hit a home run off the position player.
Yeah.
And
the team was doing so bad they had a position player pitch.
Yeah, it was like 15-2 or something, and they had a position player pitching, and
the dude swung on 3-0 and knocked it out of the park.
I mean, that's one of those stupid unwritten rules of baseball kind of thing. But it's like if you're going to throw a position guy who doesn't know how to pitch, then yeah, I'm probably going to hit it far. I don't know.
And I think it was the slowest pitch that has ever been hit out of the park. I think it was like 49 miles an hour.
Yeah, it wasn't fast.
So he had to muster all the energy himself. The pitcher gave him nothing.
Yeah.
No, Chris, right? The harder you throw it, the farther they can hit it, correct?
Yeah, you get that momentum turning the opposite way.
Well, and then in the next game, the pitcher tried to bean the guy and threw behind him.
Well, you knew that was coming. I mean, that's the
I
other unwritten rule in baseball, but
I know. I'm just surprised they threw the pitcher out so fast.
well, yeah, there's been an uptick in the amount of people getting hit this year. There was a player that got hit in the face the other day and broke a bunch of bones in his nose, and a lot of people are upset saying that there's too many people getting hit by baseballs this season. So I think the umpires are uh, starting to try and
They're on alert.
yeah, just on alert because there's too many scandal things going around right now. With there was another story about a team was riding the bus back home, and one of the rookie players got his first hit in the MLB, so they threw the ball out for him, and on the ride back to the clubhouse, they were looking at the ball, and there was like some sort of sticky glue or something on the baseball, which they're saying all these pitchers are using foreign substances and nobody's trying to do anything about it.
Well, what about? Isn't it could have just been pine tar? I mean, sticky goo. Isn't that what pine tar is?
Now they said it was some sort of, I don't know the true story, but they were speculating that it was like glue. So,
Maybe it was just rubber cement and he was going to roll boogers on it. Remember that?
well, maybe, but the so yes, baseball has been in the limelight the last couple of days just for all the shisty things that's been going on. I read a story from an ex catcher who played for the Yankees that said um, the Rockies had the same kind of sign stealing thing going on that the Astros had in 2018. Apparently, the Astros were just the only ones that got caught.
Yeah, that's not surprising one bit.
So you start to see things like that, and yeah, you can't really. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a huge baseball fan and I follow it every day, but it it's losing its muster for me because all these like just play the game. It's you're getting paid a lot of money. I understand that, but play the stupid game the way it was meant to be played. Don't cheat.
Well, when you have, like you said, money on the line, they're gonna cheat.
Yeah,
Money, and crazy competitive people that they've focused on one thing their whole lives, and they will do anything for that little bit of an edge. And also too, like the thought, the bicyclists. Well, everybody's doing it, so if I don't, I'm not going to be able to keep up with the thing. I think it's that prevalent. It just seems, just do it or don't be successful.
well, when they finally got rid of the steroids back in the day, uh, people got real pissed because baseball wasn't as exciting to watch anymore because there weren't as many bomb
Right,
home runs
dingers,
being hit.
the
Yeah,
runs, it's that's when it's like when the ratings from TV, the ratings that that more dictates how they want the game played rather than just letting the players do it. Like they're trying to dictate the outcome of higher scores and exciting home runs and blah blah blah, and that's what's going to keep people watching. It's like, well, no, if you like baseball, you like baseball. You're going to watch. You don't have to trick me into watch. You don't have to expand the market where everybody finds it interesting. How about baseball fans?
right. Well,
Yeah, on the same time, you could also argue just juice them all up and see how it goes.
that was going to be my next point. How about if everybody's going to cheat, just make this shit legal, and then just let people do what they're going to do.
See, I would watch baseball if it was like that, where you know there's few set of ground rules, but otherwise just whatever you can do to win.
You'd have to sign like performance like injury waivers. I'm just guessing.
Actually, have you seen? I don't know if you've seen this video. There was a guy. His channel is called Stuff Made Here. Oh, hold on. I'm going to look this up because I actually want to make sure I give credit where credit is due here. Um,
All
he
I can
made
think of when you were talking about letting people do what they're gonna do, is you guys remember the video game Blitz?
Yes.
Kirk, do you remember that one?
The football one?
Yeah, NFL Blitz,
Yes.
where you got to like pile drive the players and stuff, do wrestling moves.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was almost like, it's sort of like arch rivals, like basketball, where you could punch each other, sort of, but football, like where you could beat them up.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd be all for that.
So it is called Stuff Made Here. He made a. I was gonna say I don't want that to actually start playing. He made a bat with a. I'm gonna get the caliber wrong, Chris, but I'm guessing. What caliber bullets do they use in those nail guns?
22.
Is it a 22? Yeah, he made a bat with up to 422s to launch the ball when hit.
I did see that actually. That was I saw that video somewhere.
It is it is impressive. I know Smarter Every Day also covered it because they were trying to see how far they could hit the ball. Because his whole goal was to hit the ball farther than any professional athlete.
Right.
And I'm almost positive he managed to do it.
Well, should we about wrap up there? I mean, if we don't got the video.
Well, I can't play. I don't want to play someone else's video.
Yeah, it's not fair for podcast.
Oh, it's undone. Okay. Oh, okay. Unwritten rule of podcast. I did not know that.
I will share the video with you through Discord, Kirk.
So,
okay,
all right,
are we playing baseball? Are we doing video games or anything?
It's up to John. I think I might have it. If not, it's cool. I do have a newborn, so
yeah,
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after the show. And
okay.
Yeah, but hey, for Kirk and John and Chris and Benjamin here, everybody, thanks for showing up this weekend. And episode number 12 next week is spooky number 13. We'll see where we go with it.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Unlucky. It'll be so good, it'll be unlucky because it'll be hard to follow it. That's how good a show it's going to be.
It's a shame we didn't time it better and it wasn't in Halloween.
Well, yeah.
It makes it spookier. They won't see it coming. Ooh, spooky and not October. Didn't see that coming.
We'll just say Baker's dozen. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys have a good rest of your evening, and we will see you next week. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Bye.